All right, so let's start off the jerk of the year with Brett Ehrlich.
My jerk of the year is John Idarola. No, I'm just all right, my jerk of the year. It's so easy to pick the richest person in the world, but it's more nuanced to pick the second richest person in the world, and that's why my jerk of the year is Larry Ellison for a whole host of reasons. He's a living symbol of the modern oligarch. He embodies Silicon Valley, the defense industry, the media mogul, real estate, and geopolitics as a pipeline to power. Extreme private wealth converting into influence across multiple seemingly unrelated sectors. Surveillance capitalism and government entanglement. This guy, Oracle, has deep ties to government databases, law enforcement. He basically has been called the landlord of the internet, where he just buys up competitors, gobbles up all different kinds of technology, so he has the infrastructure to essentially keep all the data in the world in one place, and he just finds new ways to collect it. His Skydance Nepo baby project, this guy, as far as I can tell, bought a major studio for two reasons: to control messaging in the world, but also as a vanity project for his kid. He bought his son a major studio, and he's trying to buy multiple studios and fold them into one. They essentially, it's Hollywood as a sandbox for the ultra rich to launder not talent, but business and influence. And then this thing where, like, the attempt to save TikTok, the whole narrative was that we can't trust China with an algorithm that gathers all your data and funnels it to the people who have the most control over it, that have the control over the government and the messaging and the everything. And Larry Ellison is the one that is supposed to save us from that when he fits that exact rubric to a T. The Paramount and CBS, Skydance takeover, CBS's parent company places the Ellison family upstream from one of the most powerful broadcast news brands in the US. Paramount itself had a settlement with Trump over a 60 Minutes piece, 60 Minutes, which for many of us is like the last bastion of true investigative reporting that is left. And he targeted, this is a company that came fresh off of giving $16 million, I think it was, to Trump's presidential library as a settlement. And it's symbolic of how a lot of the networks are kowtowing to Trump's influence. And there's that. And then alignment with Barry Weiss. The next step, once they get it, is it's the double talk, the double speak of the free press. This is the center of it. They hired the woman from the free press, and the first thing she did was make it about herself, hosting a Erica Kirk town hall where she didn't make it a better, more open, more unbiased narrative. She just forwarded a right-wing narrative because that's obviously what the president and his ever-growing hunger for state media everywhere wanted of her. And then, of course, she stopped a 60 Minutes report from happening. The idea that Barry Weiss, who gained favor in circles for essentially just letting people complain about woke, so then she could narc on them to everybody else, and wrote the intellectual dark web, just tickling the balls of people on the right whose whole identity is incel, which means no one's ever tickled their balls before. They really, really loved that. And so the free press, she gets rid of the press. The fact that she would go to 60 Minutes and say, like, you guys suck at journalism is the highest version of double talk or double speak. And then just a little thing, the guy owns over 90% of a Hawaiian island. Larry Ellison bought over 90% of Lanai. The island of Lanai belongs to Larry Ellison, over 90% of it. Just a little thing I wanted to tell you. And then there's this billionaire who's supposed to do some kind of benevolent philanthropy. What is his? He has given over $100 million to medical research. But let's take a look at him. And I'll give you 3 guesses as to what field of medical research, if we could take either the photo or B-roll of Larry Ellison, It's in age defiance. The biology of anti-aging is the main focus of the Larry Ellison Medical Foundation. These guys spend hundreds of millions of dollars to live forever because you'd have to in order to spend all the money they're hoarding. Larry Ellison isn't just a bad in a personal morality sense. He's dangerous as an archetype. The convergence of wealth, data, media, land ownership, and political proximity in a single unelected individual who will never meaningfully face consequences. And I found out a friend of mine is close with his brother or his son on Facebook. How dare you, Trevor?
Okay, excellent pick. He did do one more piece of charity you should know about. Larry Ellison gave $16 million to the IDF in the middle of the genocide as charity. So, a swell guy he is. And I like what Brett said about Barry Weiss. Takes the report about Trump off of 60 Minutes. Now all of a sudden it's not as free press. Just adding a couple of words in front, that's all. And I felt bad about buying my daughter both UGG boots and a Labubu keychain. I mean, Larry Ellison's like, hold my keg.
Yeah,
okay,
geez.
David, you get Paramount, Warner Brothers, TikTok, CNN, CBS, everything you want. I mean, that guy broke every record for Nepo Baby. So I guess congrats to David Ellison on that record. But yes, Larry Ellison, great jerk of the year. We'll find out the rest of the jerks of the year when we come back. And remember, Brett is doing double duty today, so make sure you're checking him out on ABC, the year 2025. So that's going to be on Disney Plus and Hulu. So you can check out Brett there as well. All right?
Thank you.
All right, absolutely. Good to see you, brother. When we come back, JR Jackson joins us, and I read more of your comments on Turk and Jerk of the Year as well. We'll be right back. So, JR, let's transition over to your Jerk of the Year.
Oh man, you guys get me nice and comfortable again now, where I want to be. So as I mentioned, we've got this administration that's full of folks that are looking to detail and execute exactly what it is that they're trying to carry out, which is, the suppression of democracy and this installment of fascism. They're about halfway there. I'm not sure what positions we can get into, but there's always the drivers of those types of movements. And it's very easy to say Donald Trump because yeah, it's true, it's Donald Trump. But also some of the voices behind him that maybe think further than just his own self-aggrandizing statements and hatred towards anyone else that disagrees with him. But one, Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller has been Stephen Miller since, like birth. There's that old clip that I'm sure many people have seen of him on a bus with this xenophobic hatred that he's talking and spewing every chance that he gets. But he kind of goes down the list of everything that embodies a true fascist. The person who's behind the scenes, but every once in a while pops his head up and then gets upset about anyone saying anything that he just doesn't like. So Stephen Miller, there's many aspects. I looked them all up. There's multiple aspects of what really characterizes fascism. So there's that nationalism. Stephen Miller definitely embodies that. He has this cult following for the dear leader, even though he's many times the one that's helping push those levers for it. Militarism and the violence that he's spewing. He's told those police officers, you can go into these cities and you're gonna have absolutely no handcuffs on you. He specifically used the term handcuffs. We're taking the leashes off of you and putting them on real American citizens that we're gonna allow you to then go after. He called opposing Democrats a domestic extremist organization. So setting up the possibility for once, they start calling everyone an extremist that disagrees with them, that they're an extremist domestic organization that they can do things to that they would also say they do to terrorists. And we see who they call terrorists in the Caribbean waters, who they've blown up already. He's just a bloodthirsty, hateful person. And goes down every aspect of these things. Let me give you a few more. He also wants to control the media and the truth. Of course, when he goes on CNN, there was one very specific time that stood out to me. When he glitched and his brain just stopped because there must have been someone in his ear, or maybe he didn't follow the true memo when he said that Donald Trump has plenary authority, and he was saying with such gravitas and such definitive words about how there's this point that they're giving us these signals that they want to get to where we have fewer rights, they control what we say, they control what we think, They monitor us and they watch us and then tell us what is that we will do with all this anger. And if you want to get along and get by in this country, you just go along with whatever it is that they tell you to do. Well, he has this energy and this anger behind it. Even Donald Trump himself has said, I don't even want to repeat the things that Stephen Miller has said behind closed doors about immigrants, which also leads to one of the main points. I know Tom Homan is, marble mouth, hateful guy who's running the whole mass deportation policies. But Stephen Miller is the guy who's also given him that same wide berth of authority to do these types of things. And I think his main objective is this whole thing with this, the minimum of 3,000 deportees a day. It doesn't matter whether or not they've committed any crimes. Doesn't matter if they're American citizens. Doesn't matter if any level of their citizenry and their citizenship in this country. He's looking to just get rid of people that don't look like him or who he thinks aren't like him. He's the kind of guy who, when you hear him speak, you wonder who's friends with that guy. Why would anybody actually want to listen to a person who whines and screams and cries like this piece of garbage does? That's Stephen Miller.
I thought that was going to lead into, I guess the answer to that question would be Katie Miller, or his wife, who also threatened to denaturalize and deport me because she didn't like what I was saying about Israel. What a lovely family. Good choice.
They wake up in the morning and Katie sits next to him and goes, what are you gonna do today, Stephen? He goes, what I do every day, try to take over the world. And she goes, narf.
I don't know if Cenk gets that reference.
I don't, but it sounds fun because everybody, that does sound like them. All right, John, who do you have for Jerk of the Year?
Okay, after listening to both Brett's and now JR's, I don't feel as good about mine anymore. How did I not choose
yours? Is
Stephen
excellent.
Miller? And I was the first person to respond to the email. But mine, I wanted to make sure that there's some people that are so obvious, Elon Musk or whatever, he's in your face all year. But there's other people that are doing terrible things on a slightly lower level, and they don't necessarily draw as much attention, and sometimes the attention is very merited. And so I feel a little bit weird about this one, but I'm gonna go with Greg Abbott, because I feel like through the course of this year on the Damage Report, we have talked a lot about Texas. Probably because we have Yaz on all the time, but also it constantly pops up, and not just for people like Ted Cruz or for Elon Musk or whatever. Greg Abbott absolutely sucks. He is a constant reminder that you can get to the point where you are the chief executive of a very big and important state and just have nothing in terms of like anything that he individually brings to the table. He's like Mike Johnson, but governor of Texas. He's just doing whatever Donald Trump tells him to do. And we've seen examples recently in other states of Republican parties that have stood up to Donald Trump, particularly for his desire to gerrymander their states. They've stood up to him, not Greg Abbott. He doesn't have a goddamn backbone. He's got nothing. He just gives Fox News the moments it wants with his non-stop identity politics, attacking not only the LGBTQ community in general, trans people and trans kids specifically, constantly. He is 100% on that identity politics, grift, culture war nonsense. But also the absolute BS investigations that he's launched through the state government against both Muslim organizations, including CARE, but also civil rights organizations as well. And that's a great follow-up to a number of years of working to suppress the votes of Texans as much as possible. The gerrymandering is kind of a natural evolution of that as well. He's fundamentally undemocratic. And that's the biggest individual thing, is that he was the first big example of just bowing down to Donald Trump's desire to gerrymander his way into continued power. He knows, Donald Trump, Greg Abbott knows, they all know that their agenda is going to fail because it's not designed to actually succeed for regular people. They don't have the single testicle necessary to be willing to try to fight to maintain power. So instead they try to cheat, they try to rig it. And that is what Greg Abbott is doing. It's kind of funny in hindsight that it resulted in California doing the same thing. It's even funnier that in the end, it's possible that with the way some of what looked like changing demographics, like Latino voters going to the Republican Party in 2024, doesn't seem like it's necessarily going to bear out, and this plan might actually fail and produce more Democratic seats. But I have to wonder, if he hadn't done it, would all these other states have tried to gerrymander 1 or 2 states individually? We were already a country that had barely any democracy, any competitive elections when it came to Congress. And thanks to Greg Abbott's absolute cowardice, just rolling over and letting Donald Trump dictate what happens in Texas, we have effectively none. Even in California and Texas and all these states is going to be basically nothing. And I have a lot more stuff that I could talk about. The cover up that he's done, the insane cover up of his communications with Elon Musk about what he promised to get Elon Musk to move some of his factories to Texas. He is refusing to comply with the law in disclosing documents having to do with that. The plan that he has to effectively allow every area to basically stop having property taxes fund education, so he can kill public education even faster in Texas. And by the way, my in-laws have a lot of teachers in it. Public education in Texas is basically done anyway. They've effectively absolutely destroyed it, defunded it. No library, it's terrible what they've done there. Weird culture war stuff like saying he's going to put tariffs on people moving to Texas from New York if Zoran Mamdani won. Just all of this, it's just garbage. He doesn't deliver anything for regular people, even regular Texan Republicans. He just gives them identity politics and culture war nonsense. That's my garbage person.
All right, strong cases for Jerk of the Year so far. I'm batting cleanup on this one, and I'm gonna go with the Michael Jordan of Jerks of the Year, Benjamin Netanyahu. So look, you could argue that Donald Trump is the Michael Jordan. Well, one of them Michael Jordan, another one LeBron James of Jerk of the Year. And who are we kidding? It should be MVP almost every year. And certainly in the middle of the genocide that Netanyahu committed. So listen, I'm gonna go back to graphics 5 through 10. Give you a little bit of a rundown of the damage that Netanyahu has done, and it'll never do it justice. Look, to be fair, there's so many good candidates here, and I know people at the end of the year get a little bit more, weight than, for example, Elon Musk, who ripped through the federal government, firing hundreds of thousands of people through Doge, all to save us money, but couldn't find a way to save money. Couldn't find a way to cut the Pentagon at all. They added 150 billion. Couldn't find a way to find the $35 billion in oil subsidies as a giant ripoff. I mean, there's a million things that are ripping us off. He didn't do any of that. He fired all these people, etc. And I could add to the list of the Stephen Millers and the and throughout this administration, the Kash Patel's been an absolute disaster throughout. Pam Bondi, Marco Rubio, you can name any of these guys, and certainly Trump himself. But when it comes to the granddaddy of evil, that's got Benjamin Netanyahu written all over it. So let's go through some of the numbers. Latest total number of fatalities in Gaza, 70,945, but way more than that because the people buried underneath the rubble, and that's getting added to every day as they pull bodies of children and grandmothers out of that rubble. 20,000 children have been killed since October 2023 in Gaza. 1,009 of those children were killed were under the age of 1. So that's over 1,000 babies for the pro-life folks out there. Murdered by the terrorist government of Israel, headed by what I would consider the world's worst terrorists, and I'm going to prove that to you in a second. And 21,000 children left permanently disabled. One of the Turks of the Year, Miss Rachel, sometimes features the disabled Palestinian kids in a moment of showing great heart and compassion. So of course Netanyahu's dogs here in America have attacked Miss Rachel. How dare you show Palestinians as humans? When our dear beloved leader is in the middle of massacring them and slaughtering them. But those children aren't the only people he slaughters. Total number of aid workers killed in Gaza is over 3,200, worse than all the other conflicts in the world combined. Just slaughtering aid workers, that is a stunning number. It's almost 3 times the number of people Hamas killed during October 7th. We were told October 7th was the worst thing that happened since the Holocaust. Well, I guess what happened to just the aid workers, human rights workers, people trying to feed starving Palestinian children. 3 times as bad as the worst thing since the Holocaust, apparently. But those are people trying to help Palestinians. So of course our media doesn't think that they're important. The journalist, well, the Saudis killed one journalist, Jamal Khashoggi, as Dave Chappelle pointed out recently in his stand-up on Netflix, and everybody said the Saudis are the worst people alive, and that's super fair. And the way they killed Jamal Khashoggi was horrific. Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu has killed 253 journalists in Gaza in just the last couple of years. More journalists killed than every other conflict combined, because unlike the other conflicts, Israel is purposely targeting and murdering journalists as they murder aid workers, they murder children and babies, and all led by what some call, his nickname is Satanyahu. So unsurprising that he'd win Jerk of the Year for me. So over 171,000 injured so far in Gaza, but he wants to add to that toll. Since the ceasefire, so-called ceasefire agreement on October 11th of this year, 2025, a total of 410 fatalities and 1,134 injuries have been recorded, and 654 bodies have been recovered. So he's so evil that he has killed 410 people during a ceasefire. That's his version of a ceasefire. He's like, I only murdered 410 of them. I mean, he's got a lot more murder coming in our direction. By the way, of course, all of you are forced to pay Netanyahu's salary, to pay for all of Israel's war crimes and genocide by our disgusting politicians in America, who you can make a case are worse than Netanyahu, because they make us pay for his war crimes and his moral crimes and his crimes against humanity. Those are the sick, disgusting Republicans and Democrats. The overwhelming majority, over 90% of our Congress, works for that monster and not for us. Finally, Plus 972 magazine in Israel pointed out that data from an internal Israeli intelligence database indicates that at least 83% of Palestinians killed in Israel's onslaught on Gaza were civilians. Why is that so important? Well, civilian kill ratios, how you determine whether folks are terrorists or not. Are they killing civilians as collateral damage, which would already be horrific enough, or do they intend to kill the civilians? Well, you tell through the civilian kill ratio. For example, Hamas has had a civilian kill ratio on October 7th of 67%. Obvious terrorists, 2/3 of the people they killed were civilians. You can't pretend you're not intending to kill civilians when 2/3 of the people you kill are civilians. As I just told you, Israel's civilian kill ratio is 83%, far worse than Hamas and literally worse than any terrorist organization in the world. Benjamin Netanyahu intends to murder civilians in Gaza, and he does so at an unbelievable rate, tens of thousands dead. Never any evidence that anyone was part of Hamas, but even if you take the IDF's internal numbers, worse than any terrorist group in the world. And that terrorist leader, the sick, disgusting terrorist leader of Israel, is Benjamin Netanyahu and deserves Jerk of the Decade, the century, but for now, my Jerk of the Year. Okay, so thoughts on this overall before we go to the community's votes?
I do, Cenk, real quick, because Benjamin Netanyahu, right? I think a lot of people always talk about the things, the atrocities of what's going on over there, and the tens of thousands of people that are just indiscriminately murdered, and just looks up and says it's nothing. And we've been well, not we specifically, but so many Americans have been desensitized to the killings like this, like it's just normal. And I wonder, because you mentioned how we literally pay him, and I've heard people talk about how our healthcare system, their healthcare system is paid for also by us by the tons of money. So this crosses, party lines. I wonder if focusing on the fact that we pay this, murderous monster money to be who he is and carry on his life, if that's something that I'm always looking for different ways for people to really see and grasp the devastation to which we're paying all of our money as we complain about our economy and our taxes and all this stuff, going to people that are doing the things that apparently we've begun to start accepting, which is the indiscriminate murder of certain kinds of people because of who they are. I just wonder if that's ever gonna be something that can stick to, because I don't hear it enough of how much our money goes to his actual pockets and makes him, who he is.
Well, today Trump said that Israel should pardon him for his corruption. So whatever money's going into his pockets, he can keep it. He's also put a moral stain on all of our so-called leaders. Biden funded his genocide. Trump funded his genocide. They both got walked around the park like dogs, and he's humiliated this whole country, put a moral stain on us because he made our politicians make us pay for that genocide. And currently Israel has stolen 53% of Gaza under his leadership. And of course, they're never gonna give it back. John, last thoughts.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's hard to argue against. It almost feels like, and I know it's why he's won previously. It almost feels like he can't even be contained within jerk of the year. I mean, he is perhaps the greatest force for evil on earth right now in terms of what he has done so constantly, and it's grotesque. And to have our country and our government be such avid and enthusiastic supporters of it is absolutely gross every day.
Yeah, I mean, look, the only case I can make for someone being more jerk of the year is almost all of our politicians that serves that person that we just said, and I think most of the world would agree, probably the greatest, force for evil on the planet. And we're all made to pay him. We're forced as American citizens to pay for his war crimes, his genocide, and that moral stain is then on us. And the whole world looks at America and goes, oh, I guess they're dogs of Netanyahu. I guess they'll do anything Netanyahu orders them to. They'll finance any genocide, etc. Now, I know the hearts of the American people are not there at all, but our politicians will do anything for money. They're the most disgusting, corrupt people I have ever seen. And yes, both Republicans and Democrats that serve Netanyahu loyally instead of the voters, they disgust me. So I think I'm pretty clear on it. What did the TYT community think in terms of Turk of the Year? Well, they had a number of people to choose from. Zohran Mamdani, Ro Khanna, Tom Massey, Miss Rachel did this based on their original submissions and nominations. And now the dramatic results from the TYT Nation. Who do they pick? Look at that, Ro Khanna coming in with a significant victory. He lapped the field, he got more votes than Miss Rachel, Tom Massey, and Zohran Mamdani combined. Nice work, Ro Khanna. Okay. In a minute, we'll combine the community picks and our picks and come up with an overall Turk of the Year. I do that pretty much at the last second after I see your guys' votes. And the degree of the vote and the emphasis of the vote matters. And these are our members, our community, the people that allow us to do this show, and basically our bosses. So we put a lot of weight on that. So now let's go to their picks for Jerk of the Year. We had nominated were Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, Benjamin Netanyahu, and Donald Trump. And whoever loses here, don't worry guys, all four of you, it's an honor just to be nominated. The TYT community thought you were all monstrous jerks, gigantic jerks. So let's see who won. Another runaway winner here, Benjamin Netanyahu getting over 64% of the vote. Donald Trump was the only one that was competitive around, what is that, 34%? I don't know, my glasses.
I think so, 34, 35, something.
Yeah, and Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin, they've got to be pretty bummed. Only around 1%. Mark, you got to yell louder. Okay.
Jay, can I ask?
Yeah.
The final four that are on there, was that as a result of people's suggestions or were those chosen by TYT?
No, those are suggestions. People nominated folks, and whoever got nominated the most made the top four. Okay.
Yeah.
So why did you want? I was going to say, did you want some
wondering.
Americans on the list? But I realized 3 of them are theoretically American. Yeah,
I would have liked to have seen. It's not up to me; it's up to them. I would have liked to have seen, just because I feel like Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin on this list kind of feel like a person who would vote for one would vote for the other. So it's sort of splitting a vote, and not even, there's not a lot, I guess, but mostly because people who would be angry at them for what they've used their platforms for and all of that probably are going to vote for Benjamin Netanyahu anyway for similar reasons. So I would have liked to have seen, I don't know, like a Pete Hegseth or an Elon Musk who sort of filled different roles of garbage, you know?
Yeah. I know, I get it. Stephen Miller was a great pick from JR and from a lot of others. So, okay, well, let's decide the jerk of the year now. Since the vote on the among the members was overwhelming, and one of us, me in this case, also picked Netanyahu, and we all kind of said he could be the biggest jerk on the planet right now. I think it's fair to say Benjamin Netanyahu, repeat champion as jerk of the year. And by the way, John, this happened last year too. Last year, actually, we all left him off our list, but the community picked Netanyahu as jerk of the year, and they outvoted us, and he became jerk of the year. So he's got to be thrilled.
I wonder if he's the first. We have to at some point go back and see all the past years. I wonder if anybody else has taken to, and especially in consecutive years. That's impressive. He certainly put in a lot of evil work to earn it, though. You can't say he didn't try.
Oh, for sure. Well, congrats. He probably will take it as a badge of honor. Yes, I have murdered more civilians than anyone on the planet, and more reporters and more human aid workers. Viva la Israel! Okay, now he doesn't represent everyone in Israel, but he does represent their government, and unfortunately, the people who fund him represent our government. So the only case I can make is for people who are funding him, and that's almost all of the American politicians. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.